I'm trying to watch all of the Superman media I can. And so today, here's my review of My Adventures with Superman, an anime inspired take on the character. And it's an animated series that has had two seasons, and one more will come out. So I think it started in 2023, and it's available on Max. What I like about Superman is that there is such a rich and detailed backstory that can be changed with every I, I, iteration, a difficult word to say. It's almost like a religious story, but one that can be adapted without offending anyone. So I'm gonna just randomly talk about a bunch of things, and it's not gonna be very structured, but these are just thoughts that I've had after watching the first two seasons. The first one is the Lois's character design is a bit disappointing. They gave her extremely short hair, which I feel like they just did that to make a departure from the way that the character is usually portrayed with short-ish, but not like really short, uh, black or dark brown hair. I do like the contrast between the way that Clark looks and the way that Lois looks because he towers over her. And so it does seem that he could be an alien just from that kind of features. But then his cousin is introduced, and I'll talk more about her later, but she's much shorter than other human females. And I get that this is supposed to be at the beginning of their careers, but this is another series that does not take the job of journalists very seriously. Clark says that Lois is the best journalist he's ever seen, but the series does not show this. And surprisingly, the media that shows, or the bit of media that shows how good a journalist Lois Lane actually is the New Adventures of Superman, the live action series from the 90s. Because in that one, she is like 100% a journalist first, and then Superman's love interest second. And I think like a lot of series kind of make the mistake of putting the journalist part as a sort of addition to her character where it's one of the most important things. And I know that's from the comics, but Lois has a lot of backstory that her dad is a general in the army. And I think that some series will rely on that bit of information to try to make Lois more interesting as a character, but she is interesting in herself and like give the lady respect. It's like, I don't know. There's not any equivalent in our world of like what kind of journalist Lois Lane is because she is, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but think Diane Walters, that kind of like old school journalist, which doesn't really exist so much anymore. Um, Kara is an interesting character for me. For those of you who don't know, she's Clark's cousin, and depending on the story, she was sent to Earth to watch over him, but arrived later and became Supergirl, which everybody is aware that that's a dumb name, so I'm just going to call her Kara. She's a character that seems to be reinterpreted in different ways. The most famous version up till now has been the Arrowverse version of Supergirl, and she is optimistic, an idealistic do-gooder, and almost exactly like her cousin with almost exactly the same upbringing. And Michelle Bonneau, I think is the name of the actress who portrayed that character, did like an exceptional job with like bad writing and bad production. Like I really like that version of Superman, of sorry, of Supergirl, but it's essentially Superman. You see the Freudian slip there? It's essentially Superman uh, in a woman's body. And I think that doesn't work for Kara, actually. I think that I much prefer interpret because she is not Superman. She's like her own person. In Smallville, she's almost angelic, but angelic in the sense of beautiful but can destroy cities if she wanted to. But she was criminally underused in that series as well. In this version of the story, she's the cousin of Kal-El, Superman, who has been brainwashed into believing that she is restoring the Kryptonian Empire by Brainiac, and Brainiac is this. It's kind of very prescient for our times because Brainiac is an AI, a Kryptonian AI that Kryptonians designed to help them fight the war. And in this version of events, basically the Kryptonians wanted to have peace with the enemy. So Brainiac was like, no, no, that can't do, and he murders everybody on Krypton. And so going back to Kara, she's been brainwashed by Brainiac, and she believes that she is bringing these people into the Kryptonian Empire, and they are gonna have like great times again because Krypton was this like beacon of science and progress and all of that. But actually, and I don't know exactly what Brainiac's motivations are. I think it's just that the AI went a bit insane. So Kara was used to commit planetcide in multiple planets. So it's one of the darkest interpretations of Kara. But the actual character is naive and full of wonder, which is great. So so Clark sets off this beacon to look for his cousin, and Brainiac and Kara get the message, and Kara goes by herself to look for him, and she's on the planet, and she has no idea what's going on. She gets ice cream for the first time, hot dogs for the first time, falls in love with Jimmy. It's actually great. It's like, on the one hand, you have like this balance between what she's actually capable of and what she has done in the past and who she actually is as a person. So I think that this is my favorite version of the character because it's not just a female version of Superman, because it's a different Kryptonian. And yeah, it's very, very good. I was trying to do a bit of research. Well, a bit of research. I literally just Googled a couple of minutes, but I was reading the Wikipedia article, and this is a quote from the writers of My Adventures with Superman from Wikipedia. The team behind the show wanted to explore the early years of Clark, Lois, and Jimmy Olsen and their jobs at the Daily Planet, something that Campbell felt had rarely been touched in previous Superman media. Guys, there was an entire show about that. There was a 10 season, like, I don't know, at least 250 episode series. The longest running sci fi series in American history is actually Smallville. Surprising to know, probably. But yeah, you might not know that if you didn't make it through the entire thing, but the last two, maybe four seasons of Smallville are about the Daily Planet and Lois working at the Daily Planet and Clark working at the Daily Planet. I think that they didn't do a very good job of showing, like, I said this in my Smallville video. I think that Tom Welling and Erica Durance, Welling played Clark and Durance played Lois. I think that they have the best chemistry between every version of Clark and Lois. They have the best chemistry, but the actual Lois and Clark are not shown to be great journalists in that as well. But in this series, they're also not shown to be great journalists. So I think that they didn't really do much better in terms of showing the journalistic side. So maybe that was the intention, and maybe they'll do that in the third season, but in the first two seasons, not really. And just a side note, like what they did with Jimmy Olsen in Smallville is criminal, and people should be punished for that. Maybe not punished, but yeah, go check that out. And I'm glad that Jimmy doesn't have that kind of situation here. Although, well, no, I won't reveal everything that happens there. All right. One constant theme in Superman media is the idea that Clark feels incredibly loved by his adopted parents, but he cannot shake the feeling of abandonment by his biological parents. Um, he knows that he does not fit in, but that's the thing that he wants the most, and he can never have it. I like in this version where he discovers the ship, or his parents show him the ship that he came in, and he activates this holographic version of Jor-El. Jor-El is his biological father, and because Jor-El is speaking Kryptonian, Clark has no idea what's going on, and they have this great conversation where Jor-El is speaking Kryptonian and Clark is speaking English, and Clark is saying like these horrible things about Jor-El, and Jor-El's like, no, that's like you're completely wrong. I love you. I want to protect you. I don't know what's going on here, and it's just this great, like, you can see in that scene the gap between what Clark really wants in his heart is to understand this person, and how he's afraid of what he is. So it's really, really good. I also like the fact that the ship was sent with Clark. The ship that was sent with Clark could actually potentially wipe out humanity. And I think in a lot of other series, and they do this in this one as well, um, when people say that Superman is a danger to humanity, in a lot of the other media, it's like, oh, you're overreacting. Superman would never do anything bad to humanity. But in this one, it really shows how it's not Superman himself who is a danger. It's just the existence of Kal-El on Earth is a danger, because he sends this beacon, and that brings Kara, and Kara, you know, she is still being controlled by Brainiac, and Brainiac brings his fleet, and also I forgot to mention that there's this task force X, and they've been using Kryptonian technology to create super weapons. So basically, supervillains on Earth in this series are created by indirectly by Kal-El. So it's true that Superman is a menace to humanity. Should he be murdered brutally? No, because just the fact that he arrived on Earth is basically like a signal to the rest of the universe that Earth exists, and probably would have happened regardless. But yeah, it's like a beacon. So I've been hearing a lot, because of the times we live in, this cliche that strong times create weak men who create weak times. It's a bit longer than that, and I think that that is actually completely BS for reasons I won't get into. But I I had this thought when thinking about Superman, is the reason that Superman resonates right now is because we live in a darker time. So Superman is great for darker times because he shows us that there's always light. And Batman is great for lighter times because he shows us that there's always darkness. All right, so if you liked my review, please like and subscribe. Yeah, and if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments. Thank you. Bye-bye.